Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
And on this Monday, we have with us two guests. We have with us a Hartsville resident who's a military veteran. He's going to be talking about his military service and an injury that he suffered while in the military. And his doctor, Dr. Jalaluddin, who goes by Dr. J, to make it easier for us to pronounce, us and others. And the doctor works with both St. James and University of Rochester Medicine. So welcoming Ray Scheesley. Ray, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you.
Well, starting out with Ray, first off, if you could tell us the branch of service you were in, your rank, and what happened in the military that led to this permanent injury with chronic pain resulting.
Well, the short story is I enlisted right out of high school in 1986 in the United States Army. Wanted to do light infantry. My first duty station was Fort Drum, New York, with the 10th Mountain Division. Then as I got matured in the military, I got sent to Fort Benning, Georgia. I did initial training, including paratrooper and Army Ranger. That led up to the 1989 invasion of Panama, Operation Just Cause.
Alrighty, and tell us, if you don't mind, about your injury.
The first time I was injured was in Just Cause in 1989. I received a lot of blunt force trauma. I didn't have any penetrations. We had body armor on. What you would call body armor back in '89. It's not comparable to what they have today. I was sent back to a VA hospital to recover, spent some time in Wilkes-Barre VA, and then transferred to the Bath VA, where my parents grew up in Sayre, Pennsylvania, so we were the closest. While I was in the Bath VA, I was recruited to go to Department of Defense contracting services for South America.
Okay, and you talk about you spoke briefly on an injury. I understand that military injuries are a very sensitive thing, and you probably don't want to relive it here on the air. If you could tell us the exact, because today what we're talking about is a solution to chronic pain to help people get away from opioids. I should have said that in the beginning. Could you tell us a little bit more about the injury?
Sure. So during the 1989 invasion, I took 3 rounds to my flak jacket / bullet resistant vest, which caused massive internal damage. I healed from that, and again in 1991, I received a full gunshot wound penetration in my abdomen. And that's what started the whole downward spiral of dealing with massive pain.
I bet. Now, you say you were shot. Could you tell us where you were? I'm guessing this was overseas?
Correct. This was in the border of Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia. We were doing anti-drug operations against the Medellin cartel, which most people are familiar with. And they used the terrorist group called the FARC as their personal little enemy. And I literally stepped on a FARC soldier. It was sleeping, and long story to short, he shot me.
Quite the story. Talking with Ray Scheesley. He's from Hartsville. And Ray, and Doctor, by the way, I apologize for taking so long to get to you. I just wanted to give the audience a little background first. Is that okay, Doctor? Do you have the time to wait a couple more minutes?
That's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Doctor, for your patience. Okay, Ray Scheesley, opioids. You had to use opioids, and no doubt that leads to a very difficult situation.
Yeah, in 2005, after having numerous surgeries, I went to Strong Memorial. They had gave me exploratory surgery, opened me up, and said to my wife and myself that there was massive abdominal adhesions, and most likely was the start of this pain, mysteriously pain that began around 2005, which increased intensity right through 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we tried everything. We started out with the simple Tylenol and codeine, went from Tylenol codeine to Vicodin to Percocet to then Demerol, then to morphine, and then fentanyl.
And those are all very powerful drugs, I'm sure, as all our listeners know. And so what I guess that you were on these opioids from 2005 up until sometime recently.
2018, and the fentanyl was the last straw. They kept telling me there was nothing more stronger, and that it pretty much made me maybe have the inability to function as a human being. You're pretty much a zombie at that point.
Talking to Ray Scheesley, the fentanyl pretty much, I don't want to say knocked you out, but made you very, what's a good word, dopey?
Doped out is the exact word.
Wow. And these are very, very powerful drugs. You're talking about codeine, Percocet, morphine. The last one was fentanyl. Now let's bring Dr. Jalaluddin, Dr. J into this. Doctor, tell us about this. It's some kind of implant, from what I understand, that helped Ray?
Yes, I mean, Mr. Ray, he came to my office in January 2018, and he has a really sort of severe, intractable, chronic abdominal, body pain, low back, leg pain, and we know the cause. He already had all the treatment, and he was really frustrated, and
yeah, I think that's very common, Doctor, to be upset, frustrated, exasperated when you get into these situations where you're on chronic pain medicine, and some of them are opioids. Now, some people have to do this, but to get away from it seems to be a great thing. Tell us about this implant and how it helps people get away from opioids, Doctor.
Yeah, so what I actually sit with Ray and his family, and I talk in a great length after definitely examining him, documenting everything, documenting his history, and reviewing all his scans. And then I offered him that he has a option to have the intrathecal morphine trial, in which we actually inject the morphine in the intrathecal space with a needle and observe about the pain control and any side effects. The advantage of this that if you look the doses, you know that the most of the pain receptor is in the spinal cord and the brain, and the purpose of doing this is to block this receptor. When these people, they take the morphine or the morphine derivatives, hardly anything reach on that side, and that's why their dose goes up and up, and there are only very tiny amounts reach where it needs to be there to block the pain. So when we did very low dose of morphine, intrathecal morphine trial, his pain was controlled. He was so happy, and he started believing that yes, this is the treatment suitable treatment for him. What we did after the trial, we did put an implant, and the implant consists of a small tubing which goes from the back of his spine to the front part of his abdomen, and there is a pump. And the pump contains the morphine, which delivers very tiny drops of the morphine in the CSF, in the intrathecal space, and which block the pain. And this tiny amount is enough to actually block the pain going up to the brain. And you know that he came out from all the oral morphine and the opioid, and he started working, and now he's working full time without any pain. So it is remarkable.
That's great to hear, Doctor. He goes by Dr. J. His name is Dr. Jalaluddin, and we're with Ray Scheesley in the studio and the doctor on the phone. Ray, the doctor said this made quite a difference in your life. Tell us about that.
Well, like you said, at first I didn't believe it was going to work because I'd been to Cleveland, I'd been to Strong, Jones, St. James, Highland, all over the place, and they just kept giving me the same thing. They just kept giving me a prescription. So when he gave me the trial, I was actually at that point. I stayed overnight, and I think it didn't even take 20-30 minutes before I was pain-free on the trial. And I really wanted to get out of the bed in St. James and just run around the hospital, because before this, it took all my might just to get up in the morning to go out and do a little bit of a very minor amount of work compared to today. As I work as a dairy farm inspector in the southern tier here, and it was an uphill battle every morning. And once he implanted it, within 3 months, it was like I don't want to say I felt like I was 18, but
it was a big help in your life.
It was huge. I mean, to wake up to not feel any pain whatsoever, to me, it became a miracle.
So, Ray Scheesley, for those just joining us here on AM 1480 WLAN, the Newsmaker show, it's Brian O'Neill talking with Ray Scheesley, who's from Hartsville. And you said, Ray, in the 1980s, you're down in either, what was it, South or Central America?
Yeah, 89 was Operation Just Cause, and in 91 was the U.S. war on drugs.
And you were shot by apparently a member of a cartel after you accidentally stepped on him.
Yeah, he was a FARC soldier, 14 years old.
Wow. So you suffered permanent injuries. Where again were you hit with the bullets?
Just right of my belly button, and it literally, in the jungle, being in the center of the Amazon, you can't wear body armor. It's just too hot, and we had not expected trouble that day, but trouble found us. So I was evacuated quickly. I was at 18 months in Bath, VA. Recovering. It was probably the longest recovery of my life, not knowing what was going to come out in the end game. And then the pain began in about 2005, and I lived with it until I met Dr. J.
And here we are in 2019, 30 years later, Ray, and you're finally back on your feet and feeling good.
Yeah, I can do anything now. I still have some, minor limitations, but
nothing compared to what it was before.
No, yeah, this Synchromed 2 pump, it changed my life. The makers, they just done a great job. It's made by Medtronic. I just can't say enough, especially for Dr. J. And it wasn't easy for him to get the catheter in my spine. He spent several hours trying to get it in. He did not give up, because if he did, I wouldn't be on this show today talking about it, because my future was not bright, and my family knew it. It began affecting my family, my children. We missed so many vacations, birthdays, holidays, that I just couldn't get out of my chair to even enjoy those things.
Ray Scheesley of Hartsville suffered a military injury in 1989, and he's with us in the studio. And his doctor, who goes by Dr. J to make it a little bit easier to pronounce, is with us. Doctor, opioids have been in the news for years now, and tell us about that. Tell us about your thoughts about opioids and how you feel about Ray getting more away from them.
Yeah, I mean that truly we are in the opioid crisis nationwide, and about 11.4 million Americans are misusing opioids, with the 63% is doing so to relieve their pain. And the interesting, I mean, that we have the data. We also have that most of these, the group of the patients who are actually using the opioids do have some reasons, some the multiple injuries or the surgeries, so they have the definite reason. But the thing is, what we are addressing now, we are addressing that we can start cutting down the opioid, but what these people are going to do? So we have to look on the treatment options for these people, which are safe, and definitely, I mean, there are safer treatment. One is the intrathecal morphine pump or intrathecal drug delivery pump. The other one is the spinal cord stimulator. And you know that the Ray Scheesley also used the stimulator before, which did not control his pain. So, I mean, that it is remarkable. The other thing is that despite this is also the opioid, but the dose is so tiny, so small, and it does not interfere with their level of consciousness, their work, and the judgment. I think it is a good alternate option to the people to control their pain. Go to the physician, go to the specialist who are doing these procedures, and go and ask for the help. And the thing is, my aim is that to get the message out. Yes, there are treatment, because now all this population who are on the opioid and they have the chronic pain due to the multiple injuries, multiple surgeries, or genuine reasons. I mean, when they go to their physician, they start cutting down their opioids, but they do not give them the option that you have the treatment options. So what happened that most of these people, they do suicide, they, go to the street medicine, which is not right way of doing the things. So I think we need more education to the public, to the legislator, and also to the physician and the provider about the treatment options. And I think it is a very good treatment option of this subgroup of the patient to control their pain. The good thing is that I'm helping this group of the patient not to control their pain, but also to get back to the community, to be a member of the community, to work for the community, to work for the family. So they are not treated as a burden on the family or the burden on the community, but they are treated as a respected people in the community. So this is my message, and I think that they're trying to educate, and more, that the public and the people are going to join us to get the message out.
Talking with Dr. Jalaluddin, Dr. J, and also, and he's with St. James and University of Rochester Medicine, and also Ray Scheesley, and Ray Scheesley is from Hartsville. He was in the military in the 1980s and was shot and survived the shooting. but only in recent years has been able to get away from being confined to bed and to chairs. Am I correct, Ray?
Yeah, I was very limited work. It's kind of hard to stay awake on. I was, as Dr. J mentioned, I was on extremely high doses, and I'm not ashamed to admit, I was close to 240 milligrams of morphine a day, and I was just functioning. I had a great employer. They worked with me. Once we found Dr. J, I had a little glimmer of hope. And at first, I didn't believe it was going to work. I just didn't. As he mentioned, I also had the stimulator, and it didn't work. So we were somewhat skeptic, and the trial was the key. The trial worked so well that I really didn't want to leave the hospital without him putting the device in me that day. But insurance has run everything lately, so but he did, and it was night and day. I did a complete 180. Being from Hartsville, as you know, that we do a lot of hunting up here. We do a lot of outdoor recreation sports, and it's something I can enjoy with my family again.
Ray Scheesley, I want to thank you so much for coming in and giving us your story and talking about how this medical implants made a big difference. Doctor, how do people get in touch with you or your office to see, if they're in chronic pain, to see if one of these medical implants would work for them?
Yeah, I mean, we have a the line with the number 607-731-4644. They can also reach through St. James Hospital, but this is our line which anyone can reach it if they need some help.
And if anyone hears this show and they're suffering from chronic pain, they could maybe talk to their doctor about it and see if their physician could refer them to you, Dr. J.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. And we are also reaching out to all local providers to actually, inform that there are other treatment for the chronic pain. So when they start cutting down the opioid, talk to their patient about this treatment.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for being on the line with us today, Doctor.
You are very welcome.
Thank you very much. It must feel great, Doctor, to be able to have a great success story like this.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, and thank you for coming in, Ray.
Thank you a lot. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Newsmaker Show on AM 1480 WLEA, and hopefully maybe somebody was helped today who's suffering from chronic pain.